Welcome back to Our Justice Journey with Dr. Ijeoma Ononuju, Part 4, and we thank you for your continued interest in this discussion. Through your work with schools, have you seen different strands of injustice take place at each school, or do you see the same type of injustice being penetrated throughout primarily all schools?
Yes, it's pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but let us not forget injustice is built into the system.
Yeah.
So it has to be the same across the board,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's not an injustice is not an individualized thing, it's a systemic problem. And
Mm-hmm.
so you need to be able to find the same injustice here in California that you will find in Atlanta, Georgia, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way that the system actually works is if there's consistency across the system. So, yeah, injustices are the same wherever you go.
And to that point, kind of to reference Audre Lorde, I was having a discussion about this, with a few peers. And do you think the master's tools can ever destroy the master's house?
No, no,
Mm.
no. The master's tools can help you change who the master is,
Mm-hmm.
but you will still. So that's one of the things that I ask all of my Black brothers and sisters is like, what do you really want? Do you really want to change the system, or do you want to just change who's the master of the house?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times the things that we do are only going to change who the master is.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we want to be the ones who are in control so we can control our fates better, right? But if you really truly are about changing the system, then you have to find a whole new different method, right? Because the system does not respect individuals or groups or people. The system is designed to operate independently of who is in charge of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So right now you got, you could say right now you got white males in charge.
Mm-hmm.
But the system don't care if it moves from white males to white females
Mm-hmm.
or to Asian males, right? Like it doesn't care as long as you continue to have um, a gap of wealth, as long
Mm-hmm.
as you continue to have injustices, failure, right? As long as freedoms continue to be infringed upon, that's all the system really
Yeah.
cares about. So if you're using tools, right, it's almost as if you are fighting someone and they wrote the playbook that you fighting them against with,
Yeah, yeah.
right? They
Mm-hmm.
like, bro, I already know this play.
Mm-hmm.
I already know what you're gonna doing, right? So I can incorporate the type of defense that will always allow me to get the result that I want and not allow you to get the result that you want. The only
Mm-hmm.
way you can really tear down the master's house is you got to trick it. You got to come with some stuff it ain't never seen before. I'm
Yeah.
ready for the sledgehammer.
Mm-hmm.
You instead of a sledgehammer, you came with roses. Like I don't even know how to handle this. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. And like to that point, I think, whenever I think about this quote, it's also like, what is the master's house? Is the master's house the prison industrials complex, or is the master's house just white supremacy as it is? You know what I mean? And like to that point, then what is the tools? Are the tools mass incarceration, or is the master's house mass incarceration? You know what I mean?
yeah, that's a great question. I think the master's house is democracy and capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
I really and I would say capitalism more so than democracy. Our society is operated on greed. The
Mm-hmm.
more greed that we can create, the more our society functions, right? The idea that our society is a democracy and really it's an oligarchy more than it is a democracy, but the idea that we is call ourselves as a democracy is only to allow people to feel good about being greedy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we have chosen a political system that eases the consciousness of those who have accepted our economic system. And the
Mm-hmm.
reality of it is the reason why we have and have nots is because people always want to be rich,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's this idea that I can make more money than you. I can have a bigger house than you. I can have a faster car, a prettier car than you, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that to me is what drives our society. Racism, sexism, the prison industrial like all of those things serve a capitalist society,
Mhm.
period, point blank, right? And so we can do things to address racism. We can do things to address sexism. We can do things to address the prison industrial complex. But if capitalism is still the core of our values, right? Not just our economic values, of our values, period, right?
Mhm.
Then those things will just find a way to replicate themselves in different ways.
Mhm. Yeah, I kind of, just that to that last point, you know what I mean? Like I feel like in our society, in a lot of times, racism and just all these like injustice in our world have been kind of like energy, you know what I mean? People say energy can transform or can take new forms, but it never goes away. You know what I mean? And so like we might think, oh, we're maybe fixing up the house a little bit, but it's just taking a new form. It's not going to go away. You know what I mean? So I think that's just like a really important thing to remember. You know what I mean? When we're talking about this quote and just this idea overall.
Now, I will say, I recognize that my thinking on these things sometimes differs from the way other people think. And
Mhm.
so I'm definitely okay with anyone, listening to this to disagree with me. I'm open to that because I do know that I can be a little different in the way that I think. So just wanted to kind of put that out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And our last question for you is if you were to build your own school without any boundaries in your way, what would it look like?
Man, if I could build my own school, uh, I mean, the first thing that I would do is I would want, before we even talked about what kids are going to learn or how they're going to learn, I just would want every kid to walk away from my school feeling loved.
Mhm.
If you told me that I had a 100% love rate, that 100% of the kids who left my school every day felt love,
Mhm.
then I would say we're a success, because I really do believe that everything else flows out of that, right?
Mhm.
If you love somebody, you ain't got to tell them to clean up their room. They clean up their room on their own because they feel
Mhm.
loved, right? Like the things that we work so hard to get students to do in school, right? They would do it automatically if they felt like school was a place where they would receive love.
Mhm.
The second thing I would do is I would order instruction according to passion.
Mhm.
I think that, don't get me wrong, I think a well-rounded education is important, math, science, history, all those things. But I think we wait far too late in life to allow young people to explore their passions.
Yeah.
I believe the best education is whatever it is that you think that you want to do, explore it to the fullness of it, right? If
Mhm.
it means that you only explore that passion for a year out of your life, that's fine, because you will learn more the more you are interested in what you are learning.
Mhm.
And adults would serve a position of facilitating that learning, right? But school would really be about giving you the tools to be able to explore your passions,
Mhm.
teaching you how to learn, teaching you how to absorb information and how to conduct analysis, teaching you how to push the envelope further. We will
Mhm.
move away from this idea of regurgitation, where all you are doing for the first 12 years of your schooling life is regurgitating information back to me.
Mhm.
But it would be about, how do you push this world further, right?
Mhm.
Of course, as I say that, there are certain building blocks that are needed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You can't ask somebody to design a house that has never been built before without first teaching them how to build a house, how to lay
Mhm.
bricks. Um, but we would always be laying the foundation with the goal in mind of, you're one day going to create something new and something different. When you do that, there's a different energy behind how you deliver the foundation,
Mhm.
when you know that you're preparing students to go pursue their passion. So and then I would eliminate tests and assessments.
Mhm.
um, and I would allow those things to come up naturally as a process of a person pursuing their passions. And
Mm.
so, when you are in real life, you don't have tests. People
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
say like, here's a test. No. But what you do have is you have projects and you have assignments and you have goals. And along the way, you have to do certain things that test you,
Mm.
right? But they aren't tests themselves. So and then of course, it would be black heaven. You would
Mhm.
just look around and it'd just be black, 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 black. Like that would just be, the ultimate black principals, teachers. Uh, I guess we got to include our brown brothers in that too. But you know, it's not that I don't love our brown brothers. I do. I sometimes feel like the black story has gotten lost
Mm.
because we're so inclusive now.
Mhm.
That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we thank you, Dr. Ononuju, once again for being such an amazing contribution to this discussion and hope to continue connecting with you in the future. Thank you again to our listeners for being a part of this discussion as well. We hope that you enjoyed our podcast. Make sure to keep up to date with new stories and interviews in the near future.